We've come to the Israel Museum to talk about how we can know that the Bible is true. And many of the things we're going to see in this museum are the only archaeological proof of things that were written in the Bible. For example, it talked about King Herod, but they never found a place where King Herod was buried until Ehud Netzer excavated right here on the Herodium. And on the side of the Herodium, he found this completely broken and smashed box, which after they put it together, looking at the ornate work on it, it was a burial box, a ossuary or a coffin of a king. And it is believed to be the actual sarcophagus of King Herod. This is one of the ornamental cornices, one of the decorations, and you can see in this movie here a reconstruction of what Herod's palace looked like and also what his final resting place looked like. King Herod, as we saw in Matthew 2, was the king that was over Israel when the wise men came looking for him who had been born the King of the Jews. Historic evidence that tells us this is the book we can trust, that everything written in the Bible is archaeologically verifiable. If you look long enough, you find everything the scriptures say is really there. Now, moving down here is my favorite part of the whole Israeli Museum, and as we study here, we know that the Bible gives the account of the crucifixion of Christ. And in that account, it says that there are two men that were presiding over Christ's crucifixion. One of them was Annas, and it says his father-in-law, Caiaphas. Right here is the burial box with the inscription, Joseph, son of Caiaphas. And so it's an actual inscription that historically captures the biblical account of the high priest in the time of Christ. And this box actually is the first time we've found an archaeological evidence of the name of Caiaphas in the Bible. This was found when they were making a parking lot over in Jerusalem off the Valley of Hinnom. And as they looked at it and the ornate inscriptions that you can see here and here, it's the first archaeological verifications of what the Bible said about Caiaphas. This second one is the only archaeological verification of Pilate. This inscription was found in Caesarea, in the theater that faces the sea, and it says on the inscription, Pontius Pilate, procurator of Judea. For hundreds of years, this stone was upside down and used as a seat in the theater. But when they restored the theater in 1960, they picked up each seat, and when they picked this seat up, there was this inscription, this Roman inscription that Pilate had made a donation in the city, and they had inscribed his name on it. This next one is probably the most thrilling of all these because we read about the crucifixion of Christ, but there's never been any archaeological evidence of crucifixion until this ossuary box was found. On the side it has a name and it says crucified. Inside was found this, and this is a fascinating piece of archaeology. That is a Roman spike, and if you notice the end is curved because as the crucifixion took place and as they nailed in the heel bone, somehow the end of the spike hit something so hard it curved under. And when they tried to pull it out, they couldn't. So instead they buried into this box this crucified heel bone of this first century 18-year-old boy. Archaeological evidence of crucifixion. Amazing. Another evidence that the Bible is true. This case over here, these are the vessels that were ritually pure. If you had a clay vessel, things could seep in and it would make it impure. But these vessels that you see in these cases and the lamps that are in the next case are all examples of what Jesus was talking about when he spoke to the religious leaders and said, foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. While he said that, look at the tableware and all the way around here, you can see the high level of beautiful artistic work. This is a lamp that has about 20 oil lamps for lighting. It would hang down in the center of a feast, and all of the other tableware. This is an actual table that was found in Jerusalem from the time of Christ. and it shows the high level of civilization that the people had while Jesus was teaching. But again, all of these stone objects are from those that were following the ritual purity of the Jews. This stone was found in the excavations, and this stone says, "No foreigner shall enter." And it actually was from up on the railing that had the inner courtyard of the temple, that Gentiles could only come up to that fence, the fence that divides off the courtyard of the Jews. If a foreigner came in there, it was punishable by death. In the Bible, when Paul brought any of the Greek converts, they could not go in, but when he brought Timothy into the temple, he was told that the mob said that he brought a Greek into the temple. And actually Timothy was not a Greek. He had a Greek father, but he was Jewish. And so the riots around Paul's time were because of this stone that said no one could bring any Gentile in. This stone is fascinating. This comes from this upper corner. You can see a picture of it right here, and it's the Trumpeting Stone. And this corner was the upper corner. You can see the little black dot right there on the corner of the temple at this high point on the corner. The trumpeter would blow the trumpet to tell the time of the sacrifices and the beginning of the Sabbath. And up there, when the Romans came, they threw that stone down, and it was actually found right down at the bottom, this very stone. And when we get to the southern steps, you'll see a reproduction of this. And this is the actual stone they found right down there, thrown down by the Roman destruction. As Jesus said, not one stone of the temple was left standing. This last plaster model here was found in the walls in the Jewish quarter archaeological work. And into the wall, you can see the actual drawing of the 7-arm menorah. And it's the only archaeological drawing inside a Jewish house of what the menorah looked like. And you can see a close-up of the 7-branch lampstand. Menorah is what the Bible calls a lampstand, and the Jewish menorah has 7 lamps on the lampstand. All of these further evidence of the details of the Bible, the events of the Bible, from Paul, from the trumpeting time, from even John talking about the 7 lampstands.